So President Biden's doing a great job addressing the crisis in Ukraine, but could this be a missed opportunity for him and the Democrats? Let's talk about it in today's video.
There was much in the president's remarks that I appreciated. He was right to candidly remind the Russian people that neither the United States, nor NATO, nor Ukraine want a war. He was right to emphasize that the world will not shrug or stand idly by if Vladimir Putin tries to invade his neighbor or redraw the map of Europe through deadly force.
Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video, subscribe to this channel, maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So what you just saw is something you'll rarely see on my channel, and that's Mitch McConnell speaking. Particularly Mitch McConnell saying something good about President Biden. President Biden has been right about the fact that Mitch McConnell wants nothing more than to see his administration and the Democrats fail, and he's willing to do anything he can to do that, even if it harms the country. So it's quite telling to see Mitch McConnell actually saying good things about President Biden with respect to foreign policy. Now, I've got to tell you, I don't like Mitch McConnell. I hate everything the guy stands for and all the tactics he uses. But I have to tell you, I respect him. The guy is a hell of a politician. If you want to learn something about the Machiavellian use of raw political power, you'd have a hard time finding someone better to watch than Mitch McConnell. But there's an old saying that politics ends at the water's edge. And even though it seems like we've kind of lost that message with Donald Trump cozying up to the Russians during his administration, and now Josh Hawley following his example, it seems like pretty much everybody is on board with the strategy that President Biden has taken with Russia, which is to stand strong and warn them that there will be serious consequences if they invade the free country, which is the Ukraine. Now, I did another video talking about the fact that President Biden has handled this situation exactly right. So I'm not going to revisit all the correct moves that he has taken and the ways that he has essentially boxed in Vladimir Putin in a way that Putin, I think, did not expect to be done. I think Putin bought into the narrative of sleepy Joe Biden and thought that the divisions within the Western alliance were so strong after the Trump era that we wouldn't really be able to do much in opposition to them. Boy, was he mistaken. President Biden is looking strong, and the Western alliance has never been more unified. And if his goal was to push Ukraine away from the Western alliance, all it's done is made the people of Ukraine even more anti-Russian than they were before, and even more committed to joining the Western alliance than they were before. So Putin's strategy at this point, whether he invades or not, which is still up in the air, has been a complete failure. And there's one person to credit for that, and that's Joe Biden. But here's the thing. This morning, my wife asked me what was going on in the world, and I said, more stuff in Ukraine. And she said, boy, that Joe Biden, he's been doing a terrible job because it seems like there's constantly a message changing, and it's a different story every day. And I had to sit back and think to myself, now, wait a minute. If my wife doesn't understand what a great job Joe Biden's been doing on this issue, then my guess is most of America doesn't realize it either. I mean, this is a critical opportunity to rally the American people to Joe Biden. I mean, remember how the American people rallied to George W. Bush, even the people who hated him after September 11th. Foreign policy crises have a tendency to do that. So where is Joe Biden on this? At a minimum, Joe Biden should be doing a live primetime press conference where he describes the situation and explains everything that he's doing to counter it. The myth that's been created by Fox News is that Biden doesn't do well in these press conferences. The reality is he comes across great. He comes across as being in command of the details. He comes across as being compassionate. He comes across as being articulate. In other words, he comes across as everything that Donald Trump was not when he was president. And at a time like this, when the United States is leading essentially an international coalition standing up to the bullying of Russia, he's exactly the kind of person we want as commander-in-chief. But because of the fact that he hasn't gotten out there and talked about it publicly in a serious way, he's not getting credit for the great actions he's taking. I mean, when I look at my Twitter feed and see what he's tweeting out about the Build Back Better bill, which, while I support, I'm kind of puzzled by, I must admit. I mean, last I saw, Joe Manchin, one of the critical votes to make it pass, said that it's dead. So why is Joe Biden tweeting about that, something that's dead and that Democrats are frustrated about and disappointed about, rather than rallying everybody around his strong stance on a foreign policy issue? Now, there's an old saying that the Chinese symbol for crisis has two sides to it. One is danger and the other is opportunity. And in this crisis, which certainly has a lot of danger associated with it, it's also an opportunity for Joe Biden to show the kind of leadership that he's able to deliver. And ironically, the kind of leadership he has been delivering. He just needs to get credit for the things that he's been doing. And if anything, as a Democrat, that's been the frustrating thing about this administration. Overall, this administration's been doing a great job. I mean, objectively speaking, let's look at the facts. They got us out of Afghanistan. They passed a historic infrastructure bill. They passed a historic COVID relief bill. The economy is booming in a way that Donald Trump, frankly, only wanted it to. He's done a great job addressing the COVID crisis by getting vaccinations into people's arms, even despite the efforts of the Republicans to do everything they can to try to stop him from succeeding. He's managed to pass through Congress historic legislation addressing sexual harassment lawsuits, and the American budget deficit is actually going down. Unemployment is at a rate that Donald Trump was running around trumpeting. It's time for Biden and the Democrats to come together and emphasize the incredible good work that he's doing and to get some credit for it, rather than walking around with our heads hanging low and engaging in the circular firing squad that we as Democrats seem so frequently to engage in. I mean, Nancy Pelosi recently gave an interview where she pointed the way for Democrats to do it. I'll post a link, by the way, to that interview down below. And she made it clear that the way Democrats can win is by stopping to play the game that the Republicans are setting up and instead focus on our strengths, which is our economic policy standing up for the little guy. And in this case, we have an opportunity with foreign policy to show a strong president behaving appropriately and leading the Western alliance in a way that should make us as Americans all proud. Well, if you like this video, why don't you check out my other video here where I talk about President Biden's steps that he's taken in Ukraine. I'll see you then, and in the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.